Good evening, one and all football fans alike, to the ones that matter. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate podcast for not exactly one on one because I'd kick his ass, but this would be a good show anyway. It's good to see you, Darragh. Welcome to the Aston Villa preview. 45 minutes to 50. We're just gonna kick it back and just chat some football. But how you doing, mate?
I'm all good, man. No, good to be back again.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. And again, it's just you and me, but fine by me. Fine by me. Who cares?
Exactly.
We just get on with it. So
So we get kicked off.
we are going to kick off and we are just going to get straight in. Good run of
Mm-hmm.
form. I think that's probably the best place to go. Good run of form. I think we're fair to say surprised in a good
I
way.
suppose, yeah, in a good way. Yeah, no, I suppose. Look, just going off of everything that's been going on at the club between takeover, between injuries, it's hard to believe. It'd be fair to say that
Mm,
when you actually have your full strength squad, you could actually win matches. I couldn't believe it myself, but apparently it does happen.
absolutely. But I also think even without full strength, you should still be doing better.
Yeah, like you look at the way the squad performed, like you could tell that once you strip away the main players not being funny, like you look at Martinez, Casemiro, you look at like not being funny, even you look at the way they were kind of underperforming without Maguire once he got
Mhm.
injured, it kind of fell apart really when you're not being funny though, when you're having to use Johnny Evans or Lindelof partnering with Varane, anything can happen there.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I think that's a big telling point, and we're just going to see what we get from it, I suppose, and
Yeah.
just how long will it go. Hopefully, it will continue till
Mm.
the end of the season. I'm expecting a few bumpy roads along the way, but as long as there's still some good high roads, I'd rather that than some low roads. But
Mm.
again, when you ask for consistency and a lot more, you're very rarely going to get that. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely come into that. But we are going to just review a few comments first of all. So Peter, Mark, and John have all left comments in the chat. Evening to you, fellas. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and also check out Manchester Mind. If you've been watching the Devil's Advocate for quite some time, you'll be aware that we always talk about Manchester Mind. It is a mental health charity. The banner will be going up very shortly. Information, including contact number, and for reasons why we're partnered with the channel, well, the charity, sorry, for the channel. Uh, Check that out for there. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. You know the business. Anyway, PR. Looking forward to this, lads. If Villa play that high line, we could be in business. Worried without Martinez at the same time. Yep, Martinez
Mm-mm.
has become a follow-up comment by Mark as well, who's I don't agree with. Not don't agree with. I do agree with. Sorry, Martinez a big miss over the coming weeks. Looking forward to this, lads. Up the fucking Reds, absolutely. John says we'd love to sign Watkins in the summer. He's the only English striker I would sign. I'm just saying, he's the only English striker I would sign.
And actually,
And
to put you on that, why wouldn't you sign Ivan Tony? Just out of curiosity, and betting aside.
because I wouldn't bet my life on it. It would. To be fair, he's a good striker, but Oliver Watkins gives me a more overall package, and he gives me a
Mm,
more versatile option. I would rather have Watkins. I don't. I think Ivan Toney's a good player,
mm,
but I don't think he'll necessarily step up to a bigger club. Whereas Oliver Watkins has stepped up for Brentford to a club that is actually so much bigger than them and has a European pedigree.
mm,
Especially in Aston Villa, they had a European pedigree. They have European success. They are a bigger club than, for example, who Ivan Toney used to play for,
mm,
Newcastle. So, in circumstance being, I would rather go for that. And also, it gives us the options to play him in different roles. If we need to play him in for example, if there's games where we don't need to play him as a striker, we play him as a winger, for example.
mm,
We can play him as a winger. We can put a winger as a striker where it'll give us a little bit more, maybe a bit more pace, and it lets him
mm.
use his work ethic from a wide position. He can also drop back deeper. He can play as a front two. I will never take Harry Kane at Man United. Simple as the man's a bottle job. even though he scores goals, he's a bottle job. And people rate Harry Kane, fair enough. I think he's a good striker, but still, I'd rather have Watkins any day.
Hmm.
Simple.
That's fair. No, like I suppose I would have looked at it in the aspect. No, they're like we spent 70 million on. Well, hello Julio, but no, I suppose we spent 70 million in Highland, and I understand he's only 21. He's for the future, but after looking at him in the like when you look at him after playing so many games in a row, you kind of
Interesting.
Nigel, my fellow compatriot. Thank you very much for that comment. But
Mm,
no,
absolutely. Cheers, Nige.
when you consider he's after making that number 9 position his own, he knows what to do. Now I understand we still shouldn't be putting the pressure on a 21-year-old to carry the line. But at the end of the day, there's not many options out there, bar not being fully Tony Watkins.
So I
If you
think Watkins would be smarter because also
mm,
he's playing in a team that's like hungrier than
mm,
Brentford, for example, they've fallen off. Watkins as well, he's had to really graft for that to get to that position. And I also
mm,
think, concerning his age and his profile, it's really good that he's expected to come into his prime age. Obviously, he's now 27, he's 28 next season. You'd think on a smart basis, this is a prime striker to at least bring in. Where if Rasmus Højlund is the long term future number 9
yeah,
as expected, then theoretically you'd rather have a striker who's about to come into their prime be around for him to actually physically compete with. Because if you can compete with someone, unless you're Martial, who doesn't know what competing is, then you'll actually rise to the occasion and you'll get better.
mm,
I certainly think Hoyland, in general, this is just my opinion. I might end up being wrong, and that might be a good thing. Where I don't think Rasmus Højlund will amount to a link-up play striker. I don't think he'll amount to that. A lot of people are
mm,
hoping he does that for 72 million. I don't. I think he'll just be a prime 72 million pound goal scoring machine, and
mm,
he'll have a physical presence. The pace will remain, but that's all I think he'll become. And
mm,
that's not a negative. That's what United have lacked for a very long time, just a fucking goal scorer.
mm.
Uh, and obviously Julio's saying Tony's actually younger. Yeah, but true. But you bet your life on it. Tony looks like he's aged more than Watkins has. Tony isn't all that, in my opinion. He isn't.
Like you can see that they're both decent goal scorers, but I suppose when you look at the more in-depth side of it, you would know more than me because you talk more in-depth analysis than I probably would. You would know, as you were making the point earlier about Watkins being the more overall package there.
I just think like in terms of like his versatility, that is definitely a key in football. If you just want a goal scorer, then fine, Ivan Toney, that makes sense. He's a big,
Mm,
powerful force. But if you want an overall variety with the view that Rasmus Højlund, for example, who spent big money on, is going to be your main, just your goal scorer, then I think we should go for a versatile option.
mm,
That's just my personality. If you just want him to be a goal scorer and learn from that, then Tony would be a bad option for that. But spending all that money for a Brentford striker, is that
mm.
really wise? I'm not sure.
As I suppose then you kind of have to ask the question like if you're going to go outside of England for a striker, whether it be the Premier League or elsewise, not that we'd ever be considered going for a championship striker, but you never
I
know with
think
these things.
if you look abroad, I think there's a misconception of who you sign and who you don't sign. I think if you're looking abroad, you just need to look at the right type of profile of a player. If people
Mm,
get skeptical of other leagues, fair enough, adaptability will they prove themselves, but they only prove themselves if they actually just if they fit the profile of what you're trying to build around. If you just
mm,
sign a striker because you want a striker, then you've wasted your time and you've potentially wasted theirs.
mm. No, because like I suppose I wouldn't know a whole lot about him, but I'm just seeing the likes of what's his name? He plays for Porto, Taremi. Uh,
Terrain,
yeah, no, I
similar
wouldn't know.
profile.
I was gonna say I wouldn't know a whole lot about him. I don't watch the Portuguese league, so like I'm sure you might or might not. But would you?
He's that similar profile of Watkins pretty much, except he has more of the goal scoring side. He's
Hmm,
more of that ilk. Like Gyökeres, for example, is another fantastic striker, plays for Sporting.
hmm,
He's another one. He's probably the best striker in that league, personally.
hmm.
That would be more of a bigger risk though, because he is 25, and
Uh,
that's more the view of like the younger side, whereas Taremi's 29, but he's going into Milan the free.
yeah, I was gonna make the point. The fact he's going to Milan on the free. I'm hearing people say that's another coup for Milan, like or for Inter Milan.
Oh,
I should say.
Oh, it's a massive coup. Like Beppe Marotta is a fantastic like sporting director of football. That he's in that position. He's fantastic. He's
Hmm.
amazing at getting deals over the line.
Something we've never been good at.
True. But I think that's a reflection of business as well, whereas not just sporting side, but also like business of actually
Hmm.
recognizing the right profile and it fits. And I think that's where we can see the reflection of Aston Villa as a team, for example, where to a degree they haven't been in slightly the best of form lately. They're
No.
still getting results, but they haven't been in the best of form compared to where they were, say, 2 or 3 months ago. And I think when you look at that in general, is this coming at a good time for United, or do you think it might still be a little bit too premature?
I want to be on the skeptical side and say it'd be the more premature opinion to say, okay, we can take them because it's United the way we've been playing lately. No, don't get me wrong, we've been playing fantastic football,
Hmm.
but you just know with it being Man United, something's going to happen down the road, and you just don't want to admit it yourself, but you
Agreed.
know what's coming. So, like, I'm not saying this will be our moment where we slip up again, but don't be surprised if there's a little blip in the road somewhere in that 90 minutes, because, like, don't get me wrong, Emery is a fantastic manager, fantastic tactician, but,
Absolutely.
but not being funny, when he came into Villa last year, he tactically tore us apart at Villa Park, but
Hmm.
we took it to League Cup the 4 days later at Old Trafford, beat him
Yep.
4-2. Again, it's all down to how you, I suppose, not being funny, you could view this that Ten Hag didn't know enough about Emery at the time to view him tactically, and literally just after 90 minutes, he
Hmm.
made his decision and moved tactically. But I
Yep.
made this, I made this point before, and here that the one frustrating thing, and it's still kind of there in glimpses now, compare last season to this season. The one thing that really irks me about Eric Ten Hag is after the Brentford game where we lost 4-0 at the start of last season, he was able to adapt. He was able to switch tactically. If he saw something happening in game, he'd switch it up and say, "Right, you go here, bring yourself here."
Yeah.
None of that this season, and like that's the only irritating thing I find so far. Anyway, this season, I
Hmm.
suppose we could be here all day talk about the reasons things have gone wrong so far this year, but I
True.
suppose on a tactical point of view, I'm just looking at it like whether about the fact he's not making subs at the right time. It's just that he's not reacting at the right time to some of the tactical movements by the opposition manager.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think that's a big reflection, and we know that, for example, Unai Emery will.
mm,
We've seen him do that numerous times in not just not just the lesser matches, but in the big matches. Like the record in the big matches this year has been particularly great under Unai Emery.
yeah.
In contrast to ourselves, our record against teams in the top nine, for example, is awful. I can't
Mm,
use Chelsea anymore as an example because they're not a top nine club. They're top 11 because
yeah.
that's where they are. So
And where they belong.
pretty much you
But
can't
no,
really we can't really take that as a pinch of salt. So yeah, we beat them and we played really well against them.
yeah.
We beat Tottenham, but when you look at overall results against the teams in the top nine, because that's what it always seems to be referenced for Ten Hag, we genuinely do struggle, and I think it is a big reflection of himself as in this league where maybe like there's specific sides where he really just doesn't know how to respond, and I
Mm,
feel like this is the game where four wins on like four very good wins, what
mm,
11, 12 goals scored. When you think like goals conceded, we'll leave that at that. But
yeah.
when you look at actual performances, they've been against different sides of opposition,
Mm,
and now you're getting the blend of it. I think Aston Villa under Unai Emery is a blend of all these styles in one. And I think, are we really prepared? But we're going to find out. But in terms of like just early looking at Villa and just we pretty much know their key players. We've already discussed Ollie Watkins, but they do have the likes of Tielemans, who looks completely fresh after moving from Leicester. Moreno at left back has been excellent. Martinez, we know, is a complete shithouse in goal. But when you just look at their team though, Diaby as well. Um, is there anything in that side that you think, bar the high line, which I think is a great comment by Peter? Is there anything else in particular when you look at this Villa side where they might have more weaknesses that maybe people haven't recognised yet, or do you think that is just their only weakness?
I suppose that would be their only weakness. That like playing the high line, we've we've shown that we can actually adapt to playing against a high line team. We saw that. That'd be funny. I was at the Spurs game in Old Trafford there last month. It was
Hmm.
an absolute shambles how we even drew that game. Being honest, like the fact that we drew 2-1 with them and
We
they
were
continued to,
beating them, yeah. We were
yeah,
beating them and then folded.
we completely folded. Like they were just asleep going to that first half. Like they didn't seem the worst in that second half, other than conceding that goal. Because again, it kind of reverts back to the Villa game of just after Christmas. Set pieces caused us issues, and I suppose since then, set pieces haven't been the main concern. But having said that, we know it's always going to be a factor because for whatever reason, this team just can't defend set pieces. No, they looked a lot more solid at the back against West Ham,
Hmm.
but it's how you push on from that. Like it's a case of, are you just going to be worrying about set pieces for the rest of the 90 minutes, or are you actually
Here's
going
a
to do something
question.
about it?
Here's a question. Who do you think's to blame for the whole set pieces? Because a lot of people immediately will say Eric Ramsey, and that's fine. I get that, but I
Hmm.
feel like there's a whole lot more than just him at fault, and I feel like I don't particularly think he is the right type of coach for United, and that's fine. That can be reflected in the summer potentially,
Hmm.
but again, he's on the field. He isn't actually on the field with them. He's just at the
Yeah.
dugout. So clearly, whatever he's doing behind the scenes, it may not be working. Okay, fair enough.
Hmm.
But even on the field, there's a lot of experienced players on there. There's no fucking excuse.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I really do wonder why people automatically just go towards that. But I'm thinking, surely at some point people are just going to stop and think and say, no, it's a collective issue. It is the coaching, yes, it's not particularly great, but these players have got no excuse for even defending like the easiest of set pieces. The
Yeah. Because
easiest.
I suppose like if you're going to break it down to the players on the field, they all individually have a job at the end of the day.
Hmm.
How you break that down is Onana could be more commanding in the box. Maguire, for as bad as he was previously, Maguire has always been good at aerial duels. Let's not beat around the
Hmm.
bush on that. I think that's
True.
part of the reason why we signed him in the first place, albeit for the fucking price tag we paid for. But Martinez, for his height, can get up high.
Hmm.
It's just a matter then around collectively trying to defend set pieces. Like I'm just talking the defense. You could be talking about the rest of the players that actually, let's say, depending on how many players you put into the box trying to defend the.
Even though he's a complete clueless midfielder, like Scott McTominay as well, he's no slouch. He's not
Oh
small
God, no,
either.
he's definitely not. No,
He, but he's weak in a set piece.
like I suppose in a set piece, like okay, like I'm looking at Scott McTominay. I'm looking at him how he is, how forward he likes to get, especially.
Hmm.
His two weaknesses are he's a midfielder that loves to play as a secondary number 10 or a secondary striker, and
Agreed.
and as you made the point there, set pieces. Because you look at the way he like being able to defend the set piece, you should be able to be good at an aerial duel, especially.
Yeah,
Aerial duel, as we saw that dying seconds of the Spurs game, not his forte, had a free fucking header and he bottled it. And like we don't mean to sit here and just talk shit about players. Like if they deserve the critic, will lambast them, but we don't mean to outright come across these ways. Like
absolutely.
if their weaknesses are being spotted out persistently, you're gonna uh, resort to just mentioning it all the time. Really, like
Exactly. I also think as well when you look at who is actually like, for example, like everyone knows like the teams in the league, for example, that rely on set pieces for goals. So you'd think surely, yeah, they might get the odd shot on goal, but you'd think as a more dominant side, well, supposed to be, you'd think you'd keep control of the ball and you refuse to concede a set piece.
Hmm.
Like obviously, if like for example, a shot at Onana, for example, and it goes out wide because he's saved it, or it's you've intercepted a pass and it goes out, that's fine. But genuine circumstance, like there are teams lower in the league who are bigger players who will have to rely on this to get goals because they're not
Hmm.
going to get 5, 6 shots a game. They're going to get maybe 2 or 3 at best, but they're going to come from a set piece maybe.
Yeah, like, and you even made the point there about teams relying on set pieces. West Ham are a prime example of that because no,
Mm-hmm.
this is not a slight on West Ham because we're not trying to up the way their players are, but like you have Danny Ings, who's a respectable striker. Let's be honest, albeit he didn't play it last day.
Yeah,
Like
agreed.
you have Kudus, but then you look at it, their actual statistics from the game last day. I believe I'm right in saying most of their XG came from, let's say, corners, or
Yeah.
whipped in free kicks. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm saying. They're only a threat on set pieces, or if you give Kudus the ball, it actually plays out right. But if I look the way the game played out last day, every time there was a free kick, every time there was a corner, I was sitting on the edge of my seat because I was them can easily just get it. Like with our defensive rate on set pieces being so lackluster, and
Yeah.
then James Ward-Prowse able to whip a ball in from anywhere, I was fearful every time he had the ball just because I knew it could happen at any point.
Same, exactly. And that's my point. And when I look at this Villa team, for example, that we're going to play, they've got some very powerful players. Like Douglas Luiz is another one. John McGinn
Mm-hmm.
for all that as well. Like he is powerful and he has got a shot from 40 yards as well. He will want to test himself against Onana if he plays. Um, Watkins obviously he's that striker who will love to get a goal from any position. Again, will
Mm-hmm.
thrive. Diaby speed again can any way to win a corner like or even just a generic cross into the box. I think it's purely that we really need to have that looked at for the weekend because I think Villa will. I think Villa will dominate the possession. To be fair,
Like I suppose
at
like
Villa
if
Park,
no, I was gonna say like if you're I'm thinking of our own defenders from the summer onwards, obviously. But Maguire's performed enough that you could probably get a better price from him than what we would have got at the summer. Like
mm-hmm.
we would have got 30 from West Ham if the rumours were true. We might get about 40 to 45 from now at a push even at that.
I would
But
say asking price is 45,
yeah,
nothing less. To be honest, I
and
think
that's
we need
fair,
to
yeah.
get more.
But like I look at how you replace some of these defenders. Let's say if they're on about keeping Lindelof,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to question it. But I want to keep Varane. Like I don't care if the man's made of glass, and I don't care if the man is wait, is he 30, 31?
Yeah,
Older
30.
even.
Well, he's turning
Yeah.
30 pretty much. Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say I couldn't tell you. He's been around so long, I couldn't tell you if he was actually over 30. But no,
true.
like I, I look at it. I look at Maguire especially. He's the right kind of defender, but he's just too slow. Like he's actually willing to play the ball forward. He's actually trying to be an Eric Ten Hag style defender. From what it's like, I've said it numerous times. You could slate him all you want. The man actually put up and shut up and just performed since he got isolated at the start of the season, and he came in, earned his flowers. He's actually trying to play the style of football there, Ten Hag. If you want to say there's a style of play, he's trying to play that. But I just look at him there like Maguire in the right team is a fantastic defender, and I don't think anyone can outright disagree with that because that being funny, I know an Irishman and a Scotsman, but the Scottish English national team. But you saw the way that he performs under Southgate in that centre of back three. He just fits in that kind of setup. I don't know about you, but if you get him into the right team, he will thrive. So I'm there like if you can get
Yeah,
someone that kind of fits the Maguire mold, but with a bit more agility and speed to him, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I know I didn't.
that
If
makes sense.
for anyone who watching, if you have any ideas as to who could replace him, feel free.
I got several ideas, but that doesn't matter right now.
No,
That
no,
doesn't
no.
matter.
Of course.
Several in my head. What about Dassos? When you look at our form right now, the one thing that's generally helped is the fact is we've got the less matches per week. But obviously, we've just done like we've just done the fun like of West Ham, etc. But in terms of like the fixtures we're coming up, it's a little bit more condensed.
Yeah.
So we do have a little bit of room in between to train a bit. When you look at Villa, for example, they're going to be so much more energy based. They're going to try and dominate the ball. We know how organised they are, whether it be with a front two or a front four. If they play with a whole like two holding midfielders, like they are very well adversed in separate systems. For United in particular, it's one system only that we generally play,
Yeah.
but we can adapt ours. Are you confident of the game? Like in terms of like not confident that we can get a result, but are you confident that at least the fact is we play just the one system, Villa will have to change their game slightly to play to us, or do you think it just makes it a lot harder? Again, I'm trying to find different ways of like saying like we're not actually that shit. We it's just that there's some opponents we generally will excel against. There's some that we will just never learn, but then you'll have the odd bit in between. And I'm just trying to find where I would put Villa because I think
Yeah.
they can be
No,
either or.
see, I'm confident we'll actually attempt to play decent football. But again, it kind of reverts back to what I mentioned earlier about the difference between Ten Hag's tactical ability to switch things up between last season and this season. Will he, let's say, if we go a goal down at Villa Park, will he actually try and make a difference? Or will he just sit there and continue to throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks? If that's the best way to put it, really, because that's what it looks like he does every time the goal or the team go goal down so far this year. He's just going to throw it at the wall and he's going to hope that it sticks. So look, I'm confident we'll actually play decent football. I'm just not confident whether he'll actually make the adaptability to change things. If like, and I love Ten Hag, but at this rate, he is becoming a store seeking point where you just know if they go goal down, he's just going to say, right, continue what you're doing. Even if we go two goals down, continue again. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just that's the only frustrating bit right now, really, for me.
When you look at this is one thing I wanted to bring up actually, because when you look at the difference of opinion, not difference of opinion on Ten Hag, but when you look at the different games, for example, that we played against Villa last year when Emery came in, we've already mentioned the league game, and then we mentioned the fact that we had to play them back to back. We played them in
Yeah.
the cup as well. They were totally different performances, but the one that really stood out was the league, and that really gave United a scare. Where like, okay, Ten Hag is taking this team potentially to a European final. That didn't work. We then got to two cup finals in own domestic competition, for
Yeah.
example. We won one, lost one, still finished in the top four when theoretically did United deserve it? Maybe, maybe not. But then you've also got to think really like this, like forget new manager bounce. Like Villa just completely schooled us in the league,
Oh yeah, massively.
and they've already done it again. So it's the worrying thing where do you think there's a mental block when it comes to potentially playing this team? Do you think there could actually be a mental block in the league where actually maybe Villa, like because United's record against Aston Villa is absolutely is sublime,
Yeah.
but
Like,
is it maybe that change where actually Emery's like, even though it says of obviously the title of the show is "Are Villa there for the taking?" Does that feel like a false hope?
it does really, but like I suppose you look back at the game against them again. To revert back to that game just at the other side of the New Year, we went 2-0 down. We were 2-0 down at halftime at Old Trafford, and
Hmm.
somehow, with the grace of God, we managed to actually win that game. So
Yeah,
it's I suppose that put the demons to bed about the whole mental block of whatever about Villa, about any team where they could actually come back from 2-0 down. Because not,
exactly.
not being funny, you look at the Bournemouth game, for example, we were 2-0 down, they just sat there doing nothing, and then they let it become 3, and almost
2
became
0
4.
2-0's a dangerous scoreline after all.
Yeah, exactly. But like this is the thing. I like Julio made the point there about them not playing well during midweek. Will that
Yep.
actually will that light the fire under our arse to actually play well again now against United? Yeah, exactly. Julio made a point there about the conversations. Great point, because I was there, like I was actually fit to just switch my phone off, because between the conversations that we were having in the group chat and the conversations I was trying to have with some of the negative people on Twitter was absolutely mind-boggling. But no, I think it's fair to say I think that game actually proved that the mental block isn't there. It's more when they want to turn up and actually play the way they want to play and the way they should be playing.
Yep.
Other than that, like I think it's more. Could you say it's more the mental attitude than the mental block? I think now that could be your choice to make that one, though. But
No, I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say. Apart from like their key, obviously, apart from like the main standout players that Villa have, who stands out for you in particular? I think, but for me particularly, I really like Jacob Ramsey. I think he's incredible.
he's after coming a long way, isn't he? Because
Yeah.
I didn't think much of him. Like I won't lie, I heard him signing for Villa. Like, I was not the move I expected from him, and that's not a
Yeah.
slight on him either. But no, I like everyone loves Watkins for understandable reasons, especially if you have him in your fantasy team. But uh, he hasn't really done much for me in recent time. But anyway, especially when I left Haaland the captain. But that's another conversation. But no, I like Watkins. I like because he's from what I've watched of him, he's a player that will just take on any man with that pace, and it's frightening to think what he could do if we didn't have Luke Shaw. It's like if correct me if I'm wrong, he plays on the right primarily, and does or does he play?
Yep.
Yeah,
He
so
plays on
that's
the
what I'm saying.
right.
So if we didn't have Luke Shaw there now the next night, I would be worried if he's starting right wing. Uh, like you made the point there, Douglas Luiz didn't have the greatest start to his Villa career. It's after coming on massively. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that Arsenal want to sign him, even though I'm still like, you already have a condensed midfield there between an aging Jorginho, you have Declan Rice, you have Kai Havertz, who's playing well out of position. He may as well be playing left back like he does for Germany. But like that hurts the mid. Or sorry, to go back to Villa board and Arsenal. Uh, you look at the midfield choices for Villa, and you actually have strong choices. You have a you made the point about Tielemans earlier. He's a man that I did want to United because of the fact that he was leaving Leicester. I was very jealous of
Yeah.
Villa when they did sign him, because I knew you could nearly make the point that Tielemans was one of the players who knew, because he knew he was on the way out. He didn't have to perform for Leicester because he already
True.
he made the choice. I think was come January just to say no, I'm leaving on a free. And the fact that he just up and left, I suppose it's not an attitude thing with him. Well, you could make the point it could have been, but you could just tell that he was available to do so much more, but he didn't. If
Yeah.
that's the best way to describe it, because you can see now when you actually got a proper decent manager, and again, not a slight on Leicester, because that whole team as a whole underperformed last season, and
True.
you just look at it and you gotta think Tielemans in a better team would do way better, and look at him now, and
It
like,
was mad. It was managed by a dud. To be fair, Brendan Rodgers is a dud.
well, come on now, this is a Celtic and Rangers conversation now, but we won't
No,
go down.
I just don't. No, it's not that. I just don't rate. I just don't rate Brendan Rodgers. I just don't rate him at all.
And like, it's amazing to think though. Like, okay, I wouldn't say he's the greatest manager either, because I would say I wouldn't know much about him tactically. But having said that, you can't be doing too much wrong if you almost got Liverpool to a league title.
Yeah, but to be fair, few other people tried to get him to a league title and failed. He's
Yeah,
just
that's
shit.
fair. That's fair.
He's just shit.
Pierre Cash, for fuck's sake.
Reasonable choice, but he doesn't have a Bond suit.
Rocky sucks.
All I'm gonna say is Crimea River.
The Cody Crybabies.
Plenty of them going around.
Oh,
I didn't care. I just laugh it
I'm,
off.
I'm more on the fence of that one, but we'll leave that conversation for another one.
I just don't care. I've basically just taken a back seat and just stopped paying attention.
What happens?
I just don't care. What I want to ask you though, because to be fair, it's very rare that on a preview that we just talk mostly about the opposition, mostly just speak about our own club. So we are now going to speak about United. So when you look at our team, obviously well, my story's finished quicker than a Cody Rhodes winning the WWE title match, that's all I'm going to say. So, my question is to you, though. When you look at our key players, obviously, Kobe Minu is now coming to great form, but I said last time I was on the channel, I said that there's times where he really shouldn't start. This is a game where he should start, though. Like, I agree, like, this is a perfect game for him to at least adapt himself. Hoyland obviously should continue starting. Garnacho should continue starting on the right wing. Rashford, for all the inconsistency, should be on the left.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at just that trio, for example,
Yeah,
Hoyland, Mainu, and Garnacho, obviously that image stands tall with the three of them sitting there like on the barricade, obviously, which was really a really strong image. But when you look at the fact is they're three young players in the first team consistently playing games, getting minutes, either scoring goals or being very effective in their position. What do you see from them on like for example this weekend, especially against Villa? Do you think this is a game where they will excel, or do you think it might be just for one of them? Like, who would you think is best placed to play against Villa?
like I do feel that I agree there. All three will probably play. Like I think the only change obviously is for the fact that he's out injured now would be Martinez. I do feel that same
Yeah,
that start for West Ham will start now on Sunday. I
yeah.
suppose who will excel? I'm gonna say Garnacho because he stole the show against Villa the last time.
It's not fake, you fud.
But no, I think I do really feel Garnacho might steal the show again against Villa because between himself and Hoyland, they did it the last time. So I don't see anything. But do you want to know? I'm going to throw a spanner in the works. Do you think Rashford would actually, no, in the last few games since he came back from the whole partying and Belfast thing, he's actually put in shifts. I will give him credit for that. Do you
Probably
think?
drink.
Well, I mean, that's another topic. But no, I do feel Rashford, if he continues the consistency of actually playing out, with a bit of defensive work rate, he might get a goal the next day. We genuinely can't tell. I do feel Minu will have a task on his hands in midfield, but not being funny when you're the one bossing Casemiro around last week. It speaks volumes of his character already, and like you look at it the way it is now, and you're thinking, if any other 18-year-old academy player had the balls to stand up to Casemiro and command him around the midfield,
Yeah.
you'd be there thinking he's going to have his head chopped off because Casemiro is of his own man. So, actually, yeah, Trevor, I just made the point, or I was going to add to the point there. You actually make it there. Shaw returning has been a godsend to Rashford. It actually has been because, and I suppose this is the one, not to keep reverting back to the previous game, but just being there, seeing him in front of my eyes, it was one thing that frustrated me. And it is something that frustrated me was, even though, like you say there, him returning has been a godsend to Rashford. But the problem is, I saw it there. There was times against West Ham he was waiting for the overlap, so he literally stood there waiting for the overlap to happen, rather than, okay, fair enough, he's not going to be there in time, I'll take the man on. And I suppose that over reliance on Shaw to make the overlap will be a hindrance on that left hand side because, forgive me now, who's Villa's right back again?
Um,
It's like even their centre back
Matty
can make
Cash. Matty Cash,
Cash.
isn't it?
That's it, yeah. So like if you look at it
Excellent
this
player.
way, oh, guaranteed. Even though he had to switch to Poland to get some national team football, but that's besides the point. Then again, was it Ross Barkley has Nigerian relations? But anyway,
To be
uh, but no, the point I was trying to make. Sorry, you look at Rashford just standing there waiting for Shaw to make the overlap. Any centre back or defender in general will say, "Okay, you're just standing there in front of you. I'm going to take the ball off you."
agreed.
Like, is it the fact he's just now that damn scared to actually run at the player that he's just no fair enough. Tactically, it works because Shaw playing it against the byline then absolutely fantastic. But if you're just overly relying on your left back to make the overlap and not attack the player yourself, it does need a bit of tactical
I
tweaking
agree.
if you're gonna make it work.
Absolutely. I think that's a very fair point. I think another thing as well, though, and I don't know what you agree, but one thing that really does annoy me about Luke Shaw, though, is his inconsistency. Like,
Yeah,
and he's another one with the inconsistency. I get it, he's a fan favorite, but again, like, it doesn't matter. Inconsistency is important, like, to really tell who is a key player to have and who isn't. A lot of people like Luke Shaw. I like Luke Shaw, but to be fair, though, it's the inconsistency that really does annoy me.
mm,
When I look at him as a player, to be honest, there's times where he just doesn't want to run back, or there's times where he just doesn't want to run forward. And I think we really need to just isolate a position for him. Like, if it needs to be the position where out of the fullbacks, he's just the furthest forward, so he can be a consistent attacking threat, then
yeah,
so be it. We can play like whoever's on the right side, for example, whether it be Dallo or Wan-Bissaka, like doing spinneroonies or stepovers. If you do like either or, theoretically, just play one of them, like I'd say, more reserve role where they're playing slightly back, like almost as if we are consistently playing a back three, but we're still obviously in like that base shape of a back four. It's just we're just going to have one player further forward because they're just going to be consistently attacking the side.
yeah,
Because I don't think when you look at positioning wise, either he's attacking or defending, one of them goes, the other one doesn't. And
yeah,
we've seen that numerous times where like there was a lot of time where he just refused to run past the halfway line. He just wouldn't do it.
yeah,
So I think maybe it's that stage where he should just be further forward and just leave it at that, almost if we're playing a right back and we're playing a wing back.
yeah. No, because like I suppose you mentioned the inconsistency, then it was something that until I'd say about 2020, 21, I was kind of making the point.
Because they
Just
don't want to Julio.
I think this is the first time you've agreed on something, have you?
Who knows? Rashford's too caught in his own game. He just does enough at most, which is rare. That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a
Agreed.
very valid point.
Carry
But
on.
no, but to go back onto Luke Shaw, I think the one thing I always found an irk with him at the very least is that with his inconsistency, he needs the challenge. So that, not being funny, you look at the way it's been for United and left backs.
Hmm.
Shaw was fading. They bought Tellez. All of a sudden, Shaw becomes Roberto Carlos. Tellez falls
True.
by the way. Shaw falls by the way. They bring in Malassi when they bring in Ten Hag. All of a sudden, Shaw's back to super god Roberto Carlos again. This is the
Yep.
inconsistency that I always found a problem with Luke Shaw, that he actually needs the competition to thrive. Now, not
He
being
does
funny.
possess some qualities in there. Like he does
Oh,
possess generally
absolutely,
good qualities.
and I won't deny that, but it's just how inconsistent he is that he needs to boot up the hole to actually get himself playing. This is the problem. But like, okay, Trevor, tell us couldn't tell you a story, but this is the thing: they had to bring someone in just to challenge Shaw because they knew he was being inconsistent, and they knew he was being poor.
Ironically, Tellez is exactly what I was talking about when I'm saying if we play a left back playing as a wing back because they're more focused on one thing rather
Yeah,
than just playing that. Tellez when he played at Porto, people thought we were signing a left back. No, Tellez was a left back playing as a wing back because he was an attacking player. He would always be taking corners, taking free kicks, taking penalties for Porto because he was that attacking threat. They would have a right back doing a reserve role. It didn't work at United, let's be real. It didn't work out, but he came in to do that. He didn't come in to play as a defensive left back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I suppose could you now? I know you have your issues with Dallo. Could you make the same point for Dallo? Because
That
I
was the
just
same.
yeah no because this is I'm saying I've always had a thing with Dallo where I've always found this. I even mentioned it's the couple that were sitting next to me at the game the last day. Could you nearly make a point that if Garnacho didn't thrive on the right wing, would you not test the waters that Dallo having a go at right wing because the man loves being so forward. He loves whipping in crosses. He loves having a pot shot of a corner. Give him a chance at right wing, especially with our issues with right wing. I don't think there's anything wrong with actually giving that one night.
In my opinion, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, Dallo's best game was playing as right wing. He played right wing against PSG, what, 4 or 5 years ago in the Champions League. He played right wing in the game that we won when we beat them in the second when we beat them with the Rashford penalty. Dallo played right wing that day, and it was, in my opinion, his best game.
I was about to ask which game that was because obviously we played him like 2 years later. I actually never realised he was right wing that night.
And he was so much better. Like, I think he is. I think he's more focused on the attacking role rather than the defensive, and that's fine. One thing he needs to stop though is he needs to stop the step overs because he can't do them properly. And two, he immediately gets dispossessed every time. Julio, good comment here on the flagship show, Talk of the League. Flagship show.
Come on.
That flagship. The question was raised about Emery as a potential new manager. Would the panel consider him, even given his big club history like Arsenal and PSG? I would. And first of all, you immediately say PSG. One, he went to that Barcelona game and spanked them 4-0. The second leg, first of all, Sergio Roberto's offside.
Yeah.
There's question marks over the penalty that Neymar got and scored. That whole game literally was, even though I rate Luis Enrique as a manager, that was
UEFA Lona written all over it.
Exactly. Arsenal as well. He was following Arsene Wenger, like even though Wenger at a time was on, like obviously even though he was still Arsenal's greatest manager, they were on the decline. Emery came in, the players he signed as well to try and get them in a position that worked. Arsenal weren't bad under him, in my opinion. They weren't bad. The problem is they just didn't go and do enough. They just backed out on him. I think in terms of management, Emery would work. Look at what he done with like Villarreal, for example. I mean, the guy just manages the Villa clubs. He's managed Sevilla, he's managed Villarreal, he's managed Aston Villa, and he's done well with all three.
Yeah,
I think PSG isn't a bad thing to look at him. I don't think he did particularly wrong at PSG. It's just people think, oh, great, the 4-0 bottle job when they lost 6-1, they lost 6-5 on aggregate. That game was so skeptical, that second leg. I was skeptical as fuck. And Arsenal as well. It's just Arsenal. They're a waste of a club anyway. They're a fucking joke.
But I'll even take his time at Arsenal. Whatever about the fact he was following Arsene Wenger, you look at the structure at Arsenal at the time. No, albeit
it wasn't great.
It wasn't great. Like it's a lot better now. Absolutely. Like because is it Kroenke's son is after taking over from?
Yeah, I seen a comment. It was an ex-Arsenal player. I think it was. I don't think it was Sol Campbell. I can't remember who it was, but there was an ex-Arsenal player who literally said, when Arsenal were top of the league last year ahead of Manchester City, obviously Arteta was playing good football, but Unai Emery would have won that Arsenal team in the league last
guaranteed,
year.
because he has that mentality. Like I suppose Arteta is still a young manager. If he decides to stay around in managerial side of things for the next 20 years, no, if he's willing to adapt if he adapts to how football will change over those 20 years tactically, he will mature. And I love seeing all the hothead Arteta moments, but my God, like he knows himself, he has to mature as a manager, and if he does, and he sticks
Arteta maturing as a manager. I watched him. I watched him play football here. Trust me, the guy was good, but there was times where immaturity really showed. And
I suppose if he stays in managerial positions in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll know if he matures or not. If he doesn't, then that mentality will cost him trophies as a manager or whatever. But the fact he was relatively decent as a footballer.
So, so to answer the question for Julio, I would. Ten Hag, I think, is a good manager. I do think he's a good manager. I think that he has lessons to learn that are important. But like every new owner, I'll be very surprised if he does get kept on. But if he does get kept on, in circumstance, the whoever comes in above him, position wise, like whoever becomes the director of football,
Mm,
hired obviously by Omar Berrard or Brailsford and Sir Jim Ratcliffe,
mm,
one, he needs to keep them on side, and two, he needs to build strong relationships with them and get it right, because then they can focus on getting everything else right. If not, again, we've seen it numerous times. New ownership, new people in charge, they'll want their own manager. I
mm.
wouldn't be surprised if Unai Emery was considered again for the job. So it's an unthing. It's a fair thing to say. Let's be real. That Monaco team was sublime.
Yeah.
It's one of the best teams of. It's one of the best teams of the past decade. Like it was amazing.
I mean, like
But yeah, Arsenal was unfair.
you could put any manager with any team. Let's say you could build any team of the best possible players in the league going at the time. I don't think you're beating that Monaco team to the league. I
Not with the
genuinely
way
don't.
not with the way they started and the way they beat teams and positioned it. It was really intriguing. But you can't deny if it's a new structure in a club rebuilding, he'd make United a stable team in the top four and winning cups because it's zero winner. Yes,
Absolutely.
completely. I completely agree. Trevor's comment just coming back to it. Dallo is a defender first and foremost that cannot defend and offers very little going forward besides a few cameos compared to Shaw, who has assisted and goals before injury. Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
it's a valid point. Yeah, I
True.
suppose.
I still would sell both in the summer. I would still get new fullbacks. I'm still consistent to that point.
Yeah, what they're saying is they're going to probably keep one, if not both. No, because like
Yeah.
I wouldn't see right back as the priority this year, but at the same time, I'm not going to be shocked
Centre
and
backs for me.
guaranteed. Like if they're talking a complete overhaul of the defense, you're starting at the centre back pairing. If it means literally keeping only the Sandro Martinez and then starting to bring in, like, let's say if you got rid of all the centre backs and for the most part you've got one midfielder, a secondary striker, and just overhaul the centre back situation. I don't think that'd be a bad window. No, people will disagree with that, but I
I'd just go
genuinely feel
nuts. I'd
no.
just go
Would you?
nuts and revamp the whole defence and work on the central base of midfield.
Hmm,
Like look to strengthen it in the right way. I would just go absolutely nuts on that and then look
yeah.
to progress forward to like further like attacking midfield position and wingers and strikers, revamp them, sort them properly. I would easily go hold defence and like the base of the midfield bar Kobe Minu. I think that's
Oh, of course,
the only
yeah.
one the only one I can trust. Casemiro, I don't mind Casemiro, but I think the writing's on the wall. Unless we play him as a box to box midfielder, he shouldn't be a defence midfielder anymore.
Oh
He,
God,
he
no.
shouldn't be. Can't do it. Predictions wise though, because everyone loves these. I don't mind them. They're all right, but when you look at the lineup this weekend, what are you thinking? And what's your score prediction? And do what the heck you want. You know the score.
Hmm. I know the drill by now. I suppose lineup. Like I kind of pointed out earlier, you you kind of made the point as well. Onana, if he starts, let's be honest, it's Onana, it's Ten Hag. He's going to start.
Hmm.
Like really, Bar Martinez, everyone else starts for me, and who
Yep,
you put him in. I genuinely think if you put Maguire on the left, oh, sorry, Maguire on the right, Varane on the left, it's a more uncomfortable position for Varane, but he's shown that he can play on the left when he wants to. So it's more just
agreed.
adapting to it. So personally, for me, Maguire and Varane, and just kind of keep the team then as a whole because
Hmm.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So
Because
same lineup except Maguire comes in for centre back for you.
yeah, well, I'm not sorry, it was Varane who be coming in because Maguire was already starting.
Sorry, Varane. Yeah, Varane.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah, because
but
Maguire and Martinez started. Yeah, so
yeah,
Varane, Maguire, but the rest stays the same.
I feel the rest stays the same. It should stay the same.
Okay,
If he changes it, he can't go back to the comments of that his strongest 11 because Bar
agreed.
Martin, that's his strongest 11. But score wise, there's going to be goals in that game because don't get me wrong, United have been, for as poor as we were to score goals at the start of the season, we're coming back to a bit of vein of
Hmm.
form where goals are
Yep.
becoming a frequency. if United are to win, it won't be one of those. Oh, they'll no. Don't be surprised
This
if
won't
it
be
turns out.
smash and grab. This won't be a smash and
No,
grab
no.
type result.
I'm going to say 3-1 United, and
Okay.
it's only because, though, fair enough. It's the fact that we're away from home. We have our inconsistency with away form in the top nine. It's been fucking put on the wall of every
Yeah.
time Sky Sports News mention it. But it's just the way the team is starting to play now. We can go like I don't care if it's the top half, bottom half, unless you're fucking playing Klopp or Pep. Really, there's no. I genuinely don't feel there's any reason that this team should fear anyone. And that's not me saying that we should fear Liverpool or City. It's more because we know we're still inferior to them. Let's be honest, in the way we're playing right now, they're the
Agreed.
only two teams we should actually be going away to and questioning how to play.
Yes.
Other than that, fucking play the way we've been playing the last couple of weeks. I don't want to be swearing on these podcasts, but
Just keep
Christ on
swearing.
my. Oh, trust me, I could do it, but I'm restricting myself. But no, look, just
I
tactically
won't.
wise, well, you're Reece. You'll always do that. But no, I genuinely feel
Exactly.
unless you're going to City or Liverpool, there's no reason why after the way they've been playing the last few weeks, they shouldn't just go straight for it. So I'm it's gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna hope anyway for a 3-1 United win.
I like it. To be fair, I'm on the same base of you. Prediction wise for lineup, I'm the same. I think it
Mm.
would be the best bet, but I would try use the long ball a little bit more.
Mm.
I think theoretically in this game, I would less of building from the back, and I would just try and get either Onana into midfield as quickly as possible, or Onana to Maguire and just spray passes left, right, and
Yeah,
centre. I would just do that out wide and or bring in Fernandez, provided Fernandez stays in the role he's actually asked to play, which is number
yeah.
10, not right back, centre back, sweeper, goalkeeper, kitchen assistant, chef on the other side, um, bus lady. Like I don't want to see all of that. Like I want to see him just play as a number 10 where his main prerogative is to either create or score goals. That is what he is at this club for. Create, score goals, and don't bitch. That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh,
And I
give
think
me.
that is our best bet, especially if it's a high line, expose it as much as
Oh,
we can and
guaranteed.
just get in behind. I think we've got to go for that. I don't think building up slowly from the back is a best idea because I think Villa will pick us apart with the pace they've got. Like
Yeah, oh, guaranteed. Yeah,
Diaby will turn shot inside out. Maguire will just get spun more times than an ice rink. Varane, give or take, hopefully his ankles don't give way, but we know that's been his problem recently, so
yeah,
that's a concern. And then whoever plays it right back, it might be Wan-Bissaka getting ready to tackle, ends up in a spinner Rooney, or Dallo will try a step over and it goes wrong. That back four's got to be really focused against
yeah.
Villa for me. But I'm just going to go nuts and I'm going to say 4-3. I'm just going to go
Interesting.
flat out. I'm just going to go for the 4-3 similar to Wolves. I think this could end up just being a high scoring game. So I'm going
That's
4-3
fair.
United. I'm going 4-3 United. I think it'll be an absolute insane game. I like insane score predictions. I don't like the like old fashioned shit that people do. I like a little bit of nuts. Let's get nuts.
No,
So
and to be fair, I wouldn't disagree. No, for my physical and mental health, a 4-3 would be absolutely terrifying. But
I mean Julio's going 3-3 draw. So
yeah, no, that
reasonable.
like it all depends. Like it's the cliche term, but it all depends on the first 15 minutes. If Villa show dominance over the 15 minutes, you take that 3-3 and run if it's going to be high scoring, especially.
That's very true. That's very true. And then we'll end it on this comment just for fun. Was that Pierre Cashman drinking French water there?
Produced in
I,
Ireland.
it's just produced. It's not the best option. But guys, everyone that has watched, we were going to go 45 minutes. We've actually went an hour.
Oh,
So
fair play to us.
exactly. So thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Check out the banner below for Manchester Mind. Text MM 2023 donate to 70085. Text will cost a nation of £3 and standard message rates. quite like that voice. I might stick with that. But in the meantime, this has been a good one. Thanks all for watching. Julio, you call us bastards. Well, you, my friend,
You love
are
us, really. Come on, Julio.
you, my friend, are a Charlie uniform November tango. And in the back side of that, thanks all. Have a good night, and Trevor, you as well, mate. In the meantime, bye for now. And the review show, I think it's Stu hosting. I'm not sure, but
I
check out
believe so,
after the
yeah.
game. But in the meantime, ciao.